it totally just started on its own. So here we are. It did some weird little spinny thing and started on its own. I wanted to give you guys a different view, but it didn't quite fully capture this. I mean, if I sit in a chair over here, you'd be able to see it, but you know what? We're just gonna turn it back a little bit to where it was the other day. So, the next few videos, I'll make sure to film it somewhere else. I had put up vines in the other room. If you saw my other videos, you know what I'm talking about. And I didn't like, I guess the vision I had in my head was just not what it looks like. I just don't want to fix it right now. So I'll probably be taking those down. Anyways, I wanted to let you guys know, in case you haven't seen the thumbnails on the last few videos, I figured I would show you guys who my family is. If they get upset about that though, then I'll change it. But that photo is like 4 years old. But you know, all relatively the same. And I'll let you guys know who is who, just so you can kind of get a better visual representation of this. But so today's video, since I kind of talked about the kids already, and you know, in one of my previous videos, I talked a little bit about my stepdad. I feel like this is too low. Hang on a second. Okay, that's better. I talked a little bit about my stepdad. I technically had more than one stepdad, and I technically have a stepdad now, but I'm a grown adult and I've never met the man. Which just doesn't bother me, you know. But so yeah, we're gonna get into my stepdad and stepmom and stuff, and then we'll get into my parents. So my stepdad Marvis, those of you who watched the other video, he was with us for quite some time. Like I said, I don't really remember exactly how many years, but it was for quite a while. And like I mentioned in that other video, very difficult when he left. But it was great when he was with us, because I feel like we all know this. Children need a mom and a dad. Now, it don't matter if it's your real mom, like your biological mom and dad, but they need a mom and a dad. A mom and a dad that loves them, that cares for them, that shows them the emotional affection, the physical, hugging, whatever, all that jazz, that provides for them not only the necessities, okay? I get that technically, yes, we only need the necessities. But just like sometimes when men think, oh, I'm the financial provider. Okay, but there's more to it than that. There's more to it than just me having a bed and a roof over my head and food to eat. There's more to it than that. And if you don't think so, or you don't know that, you probably shouldn't have children. Anyways, so yeah, my stepdad disciplined us. Okay, so I was born in 94. We were, spanking kids back then, which honestly I have no problem with. And I personally think that more children nowadays and in the last 10 years needed a freaking whooping. So, whatever. Raise your children however you want to raise them. I'm not telling you to spank your kids. I'm not telling you not to spank your kids. You do what works for you, your kids, whatever. But those of you that complain, I don't know why my child doesn't listen to me. Well, because oh, would you please? It doesn't work, okay? Some kids, it might work. But, like I said, find what works for you, okay? But then, that's what we were doing, okay? It was, not for like, I'm trying to remember like all the time. Like, you know, if you lied, if you got caught stealing or whatever, or you know, you're being disrespectful back to your parents or to other people, or you got in trouble at school, or you know, whatever the case may be, those were kind of the reasons that, you know, you would get, you know, a spanking. I remember a few times that were like really bad with my brother and sister, because I'm just gonna say it because I'm not gonna put up a picture of him, and I don't know if I mentioned it in the other video. My stepdad is black, okay? He was one of those where every like word he said, you were getting a spanking. So the more words he had to say, the more whoopings you were gonna get. There wasn't like a set number like, oh, you're gonna get, that's worth 4 whoopings. Like, no. It was like, I told you not to do, you know, so whatever this man had to say to you, that's how many whoopings you were getting, okay? Like, and I remember one time too, the little brother and little sister were, I don't know what was going on, but they were racking up the whoopings. He kept telling them like every time maybe they said something or left their room or something like that. They were in trouble, they were in their room, they weren't supposed to come out or talk, or I don't know, something like that. And so every time he heard them, he was like, oh, that's 10 more. Oh, that's 5 more. By the time it was time for them to get their spankings, they were at like 40. And I'm not kidding you. He gave them every single one. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I said 40, but I'm only going to give you 10. No. It was 40. Okay? Like, and to be honest, I don't consider that to be abuse. And even then, which I know that some police officers are still like this now, they said, hey, as long as it's on the butt, then you're good. You start hitting them elsewhere, that's a problem, okay? But, you know, none of us, I don't think any of us really thought that, you know, would have even been considered abuse. And like I said, even to this day, I don't consider it abuse. Now, I only got spanked one time because, you know, I was a good kid. And my stepdad actually said that he thought it hurt him more than it hurt me. And I was like, no, I'm the one getting hit. What you hit? But I think like emotionally, he didn't want to give me the spanking, but he knew that like he had to. And I don't remember what it was for. I don't remember what happened. I have no idea. All I remember is I got like 3 or 4 spankings, and that was it. That was the one time. But yeah, so my stepdad was the one that did everything. Was the one that cooked. I mean, my mom worked then as well, so it's not like she just stayed at home and did nothing. But he was the one that was more emotionally there for all of us, and kind of there more so to teach us things and to teach us like how to be as we're getting older and things like that. Like once we get into my mom, just briefly, very emotionally not there. Just wasn't. But looking at how my grandma is, and then how my grandma's mom was to them, I get it. And I think I discussed it briefly in the generational curses video that I made, because it is a generational thing. I don't know how my Nana was raised, but what my Nana did to my grandma did to my mom, and then my mom did to us. So we now, being the generation that's currently here, have to make sure that we don't do that to our kids. Now, I don't have any kids. My sister Jackie does not have any kids. Corinne, my little sister, has 2 kids, a 5-year-old and well, she's about to be 6, and the other one's about to be 1.5. And then my little brother has a little boy, who is, I think he's going to be 3 in March or April of next year. So they have to ensure that they're not like that to their kids, so that way they hopefully break that generational curse, if you will. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of that stuff gets passed down, but it's something that we learn. Just like I discussed in the other video, you can unlearn those things, right? But it's hard because you've been doing it for 30 years, 50 years. Like, that's not something that you just wake up one day and it changes. It doesn't. And that's why I think, like, none of us really have that kind of relationship with my mom, even to today. But neither of us, I don't think any of us really kind of care, including my mom. Like, I just, like, it's not that I don't love her, I just think none of us really care enough to try to make those amends or changes, or try to be more like that now. Like, it's I don't know, like, we just don't really, it's not like it is what it is kind of thing. Not saying that those things can't be fixed. Like, if you did realize 30 years later that you do want to be like that, but both parties have to want that. Sometimes there are parents who in their 50s and 60s, they try to kind of force it on their kids after all these years, and that just makes it worse. It just, especially like for me, like, you weren't like that then, don't try to be like that now. Like, don't fake it. Don't try to make up for all those years. Just be who you are now. And if that's still how you are, then that's fine. I'm not asking you to make any changes, but understand then that that's a relationship that is just, that's the way that it is. Neither of us are wanting to, really make a difference there. But it's not something, like I said, it's not something that bothers us, though. Like, if, it's not that detrimental to our lives, But yeah, so my stepdad was involved a lot more. And just like in the, if you guys didn't watch my video on if kids should be involved in the relationship, if you have kids and you're in a relationship, I would go and watch that. Just briefly, not that I think kids should be in the relationship, but to a certain extent, kids should know when things are okay and when things are not okay, because kids tend to blame themselves for problems in the relationship when it's not the children's fault. But the parents don't say anything to the kids. And then, they grow up thinking, oh, so-and-so left because of us. Could I have been a better kid? Is there anything that we could have done? Maybe if we didn't do this, maybe if we would have done that, would things be different? Not all kids are gonna, blame themselves for that, but we were quite young, like elementary to middle school, when things weren't so good. So, and we don't know what, even still to this day, like, we only have one side of the story, but I know that my mom was a little, I don't really know the right word, not right in the head, whatever you want to call it. I know she was on some medications for, like depression and stuff like that, but like, I don't know how bad it was. I don't know what kind of things were happening. We don't know how it was for them in the relationship. And when things went south really fast, it seemed, being a child, it seemed that stuff kind of happened like overnight. It to me at least, it didn't seem like a gradual thing, but obviously it was. Like, you don't just one night decide to leave. Like, things, get you to that point. And both people are at fault there. I know a lot of people think that, I'll get into this in another video. A lot of people think that cheating is a one-sided thing. It's only that other person's fault. All the blame goes on the other person's. And that's not true. But I'm not going to get into that right now. You'll just have to wait for that video to come out. But like I said, we just didn't know. I think we all kind of loved our stepdad, except for me, my little brother, because my mom never disciplined him a day in his life. And then you get a stepdad who is actually disciplining you. Of course, you're not gonna like it, But do I think my brother would have maybe not been in and out of juvenile hall and stuff as a young adult and then an adult if my stepdad was still around? Yeah, I think things maybe would have turned out a little differently for my little brother. But again, not my stepdad's fault. My brother, a grown freaking man and stuff, making his own dang decisions, that's on him. And then another stepdad we had, but again, I was in high school. He didn't live with, they didn't live together. It was weird. Like, some nights he'd be over at the house and he'd stay the night and stuff, and then other times we'd have dinner over at like their house, and like, I don't know, it was kind of weird. And they got married, and I don't know why. And then Dad, I don't know, was like 2 years, 3, I don't know, it wasn't very long. And then I know she had tried with my stepdad again. But we'll get into this stuff in the relationship series, because you can't, if you did not work through that stuff the first time, you can't just automatically think, oh, this time will be different. We're going to start with a clean slate. No, because all they did was argue about what happened in the past. It's just, I think it was a year, maybe a little less than a year, and it just was fight after fight after fight after fight about what happened in the past. And it doesn't, you can't move on like that. That's not moving on. You're still holding on to it, But I get, because when somebody, cheats on you, that's not something that you forget. That's not usually something that people can even forgive at times. Yeah, and then now she's married to someone else, so this is her 4th marriage. Yeah, 4th one. She was married to my brother's dad, not my dad. Then she was married to Marvis. Then she was married to Bobby, and now she's married to Robert. Yeah, Bobby and Robert, yeah, same name. But, yeah, so, yeah. I don't know. We'll get into that stuff in the relationship one, because I don't know this man. I can't talk to him on being a stepdad, because, one, I've never met the man. They've been married for, I want to say, less than 2 years. They met each other, and within a month they got married. And yeah, so I'm gonna end this right here. The next video I'm going to record right after this, and get a little bit into we'll talk a little bit more about my mom, my dad, and my stepmom. So, and just so you know, if any of you guys watch this, I'm not sorry, okay? I'm sorry, but I'm not at the same time, because it's the truth. Like, if it hurts your feelings, well, maybe you need to do some searching, because if that poked a nerve of yours, then you know that that's the truth. You know that's something. Or else it wouldn't poke a nerve with you. It wouldn't hit you if it wasn't. Well, except for this next person that's may never. All right. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.